Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cinnamon Stitches. I am your yarn host, Jennifer. It is Monday, and what it means on Mondays, I usually show you my makes. Monday makes. Last Monday didn't work so well. Life was complicated, to say the very, very least. I'm feeling much better in spirits this week. Much better. I actually got a couple of things finished. I'm very happy about. I had to cheat to finish one, but I'll explain that in a minute. I actually have videos planned for this week. I just have to find time to film them during the week. So, preview of what's going to be coming up this coming week is I do have a mail haul video because I received a few packages, some very generous gifts, including a baby item for baby Paprika, my new baby niece that's coming. Very, very sweet. But that's just one of a couple of gifts that we received this week. And my mascara is a little bit wet still, and I can feel it trying to stick. I just put on a little bit because I haven't been up that long, and I was up all night with little man. He didn't sleep very well last night, so yeah, neither did mommy. I figured, you know, he got up at like 3:30 a.m. and he was up with just full of energy as if the day was going to start, and he was very chatty, very talkative. And I let him lay in our bed for a little bit, and then that wasn't working out because Mr. Cinnamon couldn't sleep. So we sent him back to his room, and I could hear him just messing around in there. And I was like, okay, it's better if I go lay down with him and at least keep him in his bed than him get up and go wander the house at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because I can just imagine what this kid is going to get into. And it took me about an hour and a half to get him back to sleep, just so he could sleep for an hour. But, you know, mommy's job is never done. Now, let's get started talking about Halloween. I know, Halloween is past. I talked about this blanket in the past and told you guys I was trying to finish it before Halloween. Well, that did not happen. And several of you made the comment, well, you have 365 days until next Halloween to get it done. This is true. But if I put down a project for any period of time, I never come back to it. And then I end up either frogging it or donating it or something, which I didn't want to do. I was so close to being finished. I just decided to call it a day. So this is, and the idea was just to make a lapgan size blanket. This is a very good, very generous lapgan size blanket. It reaches almost fingertip to fingertip. So for me, because I'm 5'5", I'm not 5'5", I'm 5'9". The blanket is about 5'5", give or take. So that's a good size blanket. It covers my feet, it covers my lap. It's just a giant granny square. And I did kind of a pattern where I did green, purple, orange. And I did 4 rows, 2 rows, 4 rows, 2 rows, 4 rows, 2 rows. It gave it a little more symmetry than just like a scrap can, even though this kind of was just a scrap can. Except when I got towards the top, when I started to run out of yarn, it went 4, 2, and then the green is 3 rows. But since it's a border row, I guess that doesn't really matter. And what I did for the border row is I did a row of just solid, instead of granny, I did a row of solid double crochets. And then the next row I did a row of solid double crochets. And then in the last row, I made that second row front post, back post. So it gave it a nice, you know, chunky border. I'm very happy with it. And now I finished it just in time to pack it away with all my Halloween decorations for next year. So it'll be a wonderful surprise next year when I open up the box and I forget that I made this. Because that's going to happen. But Mr. Cinnamon and several of you have also said that this is very Frankenstein color. And I pulled Frank in from the Frank windsock that I made. I pulled him off of the porch and I sat him on the kitchen table to pack him away. And Mr. Cinnamon actually thought it was the blanket. He's all, is that the blanket on the table? I was like, no, because it's the same colors. It's the same colors. But the reason I cheated kind of to finish this is because my intention was to use all of the yarn that I purchased. And this was the Just Active from the Dollar Tree. Just Active from Premier. This is, as a reminder, it's 80% polyester, 20% acrylic. It's a medium weight number 4. It has a little, it's not ultra soft. I mean, squish. It's got squish. It's not ultra soft, but it was really nice to work up. And it did not absorb a bunch of dog hair like some acrylics do. And it's not pilly after working with it for the past month. I really am like pleasantly surprised with this yarn. I did not have high expectations. And I'm really glad I'm done. But I have, my intention was to use all these yarns. I have a skein and a half of the orange left, which may have done another row or two. And I have a skein and a half of the purple, and I have a half skein of the green. And when I did the last row of the green, I used 3/4, because this is like a quarter left. I have like 3/4 of this made one row. And so I figured I'm not going to be able to stick with the pattern with what's left here. So this is just going to go into my scrap bin. And I called it done. I called it done. And I actually argued with myself over the decision to be done. Because I was like, you don't need more yarn in your scrap bin. You really promised yourself you're going to... But this blanket is a good size. And I'm happy with it. And I'm glad to be done with it. So, with that being said, one crochet project down. Yeah. Apparently I have one end left to weave in. I thought I got them all, but it always happens with this style blanket. Like, because every row was a different set of ends to weave in. So I sat here weaving in ends. I was like, Mr. Cinnamon, do you see any more ends? And he saw 2 more ends. And I was like, all right, I wove those in. Now there's obviously one more. Okay, now the next thing that I am working on, that I have worked on and finished, is a pattern from Yarnspirations. More specifically, Red Heart. I was on Facebook, as I frequently am. I am subscribed to or fans of like all of the yarn companies. And Red Heart posted this pattern, and it is called the Herringbone Hat. And as soon as I saw the hat in the post, I was like, oh, that looks really cool. I mean, it's just a basic knit hat, but it has a really cool herringbone stitch on the front of it. And I was like, okay, let me see if I can make this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you already know that I made this, and it's turned out. Here's the thing. I will download a pattern and be like, okay, I need to make this. I need to make it. I don't look at what level the pattern is. I don't look if it's intermediate, if it's difficult, if it's expert, if it's easy. I don't look at none of that. I just look at the pattern. I'm like, okay, that looks easy enough. And this pattern was just knits and purls. Like, it was just knits and purls. And I have never done a 1x1 rib on a hat. So that's what this pattern had. It had a 1x1 rib, which is knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. That's easy enough, right? The herringbone, however, had like a 4-row repeat to create the cool effect, which is this beautiful like chevron looking arrow. I just think this hat is so pretty. It's so pretty. And so I was like, I can do that. I can definitely do that. And I just skimmed through the pattern. I downloaded it on my phone. I printed it right off the bat, which I didn't know I even had colored ink. Because if I print from my computer, it automatically prints black and white, because most of the time I'm printing shipping labels, or Juju is printing shipping labels. And so I was like, oh, it came out color. So that made me happy. And then I started working up the pattern, and the way that I had to do it is because, like I said, it's a 4-row repeat. I had to take my handy dandy notebook, and I wrote down what row I just did. So, and I wouldn't even finish the entire row. Like once I finished this section, I knew that I just completed row 1. I would put a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then eventually it goes 9, 10, 11, 12. But it's the same repeat with the exception of rows 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's the same repeat here, but then it goes the ribbing here. But then 9, 10, 11, and 12 is what you do here. So it's the same pattern as here, with the exception of now you're knitting in the round instead of doing the brim of the hat. The ribbing. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I think it was like 8 rows for the ribbing. So it was 2 repeats of the 1, 2, 3, 4 row. And then all the rest was 9, 10, 11, 12. So I wrote 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I made a second hat. So I already had it written down. So instead of writing it down all over again, I just went through and check, 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 which made my life so much easier with this pattern. And I also, this is another trick that I do to make sure that I'm reading the right line. I have these little Mickey Mouse Post-its. And I just take one of these little Post-its and I put it under the line of the pattern. By the way, this is a free pattern on Red Heart's website. I will link it below because this was a really fun hat pattern. And then when I move to the next line of the pattern, I just move the sticky note down. That's how I keep track because I'm really bad at reading stitches like in my work right now because I'm still fairly new, I feel like. Anyway, I should probably grab Holly. Hang on. Because otherwise I'm taking my headband off and on and my hair is a mess. So this is the first one I made. Now keep in mind, she has a smaller than normal size head. If you want to see what this looks like on my head, just go to my Instagram or the Facebook group. So this is what it looks like. It's very pretty. I messed up on the decreases a little bit, but it's not bad. I messed up on the decreases with the yellow one too, but I altered the pattern a little bit. So I did the blue one, and this is made with the Stitch Please from Premier. Let me grab one because I have extras and I don't. Stitch Please from Premier. I don't know what color that way is. This is 100% superwash. This is, I don't think this one was chunky. Okay, this is the chunky, but I also have the worsted somewhere. I have the worsted. It looks like this, but it's the Stitch Please. This is the chunky. I used worsted for that. But I used it in that teal color and then this beautiful goldenrod color. So I did that. My chair needs to be squeaky. It needs to be oiled. I did it in the blue color, which actually it's a little bit darker than what it's showing on camera. It's a little more rich color. So I did that and I was like, okay, as soon as I started working on that, I was like, this hat needs to be gold. And luckily I had some gold. I had some gold on hand. I altered this just slightly and I kind of messed up the decreases a little bit. It's not as pretty because I stopped reading the pattern at that point. Because what I was trying to do is I wanted this to go up higher because on the blue one, on the original pattern, there's a big section of where it just stops. And I kind of wanted this to go up higher, and then I started doing it up higher, and then I was dealing with some issues, and I was tired, and I needed to go to sleep. Thank God I went to sleep instead of staying up. And so it still has the blankness up here, but I think it's pretty. I think it's a gorgeous hat. But I altered it slightly, so it's slightly off from the pattern, but it's not anything that's a big deal. We have a couple of little faults in the wool where I have like little puff spots where the wool was like too puffy in that spot or whatever. Love this hat. This hat pattern was, and now this is what I was talking about with the intermediate and the level of the pattern. This is graded as an intermediate pattern. Didn't know that when I downloaded it or while I was making it. So I was super impressed with myself that I made an intermediate hat pattern. I was like, I did a good job. It was not difficult though. And if you can make the Ross hat, you can make this hat. The hardest part, honestly, is remembering what row you're on. And that's why I have the notebook next to me. And the chevron pattern is just, like I said, it's a 4-row repeat. It's just a matter of moving your pearls and your knits around so that it creates the chevron. It's so easy. And the thing that I really liked about this, and Mr. Cinnamon didn't like it as much as I do. Okay, it's pretty like this because you got that beautiful like arrow shape, which totally reminds me of like the wilderness, hiking, outdoors. But the inside of the hat, like the opposite side of the herringbone, I think is actually prettier. So I was thinking if I could, doing a reverse herringbone design on this hat, I would still have knits here instead of pearls. But I like the way this chevron looks too. So I was thinking you could reverse this part. I totally think you could reverse this part. So what you would have to do if you were going to do that is still knit it the way the pattern says, but do these as pearls and then flip your hat inside out. And then your knits would be on the side instead of your pearls. That way I'm not confusing myself. But I just think it's a cool hat. And I highly suggest you try it if you feel at all adventurous. Because that detail just adds so... You know what? I'm just going to throw it on. Like, what the heck? We'll throw it on over my bandana or my headband. See? It's just a cool design. And you can move the design to the side if you want. You can keep it up towards the front. It's just a really pretty... Aside from the knot of my headband, it is a really pretty hat. And it wasn't that difficult. These did take me all day, but the reason they took me all day is because I didn't sit down and just knit it in one shot. Because as a mom and a wife, we were... This one was made on Friday, so this one was... I had to upload a video. I had to take little man to school. I got a little knitting in. I had to eat. I had to... Mr. Cinnamon came home and we had to run an errand. And there were, you know, go pick little man back up from school. Like, there was bits and bobs of knitting throughout the day. And the same thing happened yesterday with the yellow one. So I decided to make the yellow one yesterday, as in Saturday, because I'm recording this on Sunday. I knit a little bit, like this much, and then we had to go to the dump and throw stuff out. And then I would knit a little bit, and then we had to cook dinner, and then I would knit a little bit. And then I actually didn't finish it until this morning because, you know, life. I chose to go to sleep. I brilliantly chose to go to sleep instead of finish knitting the hat. I knew I only had the decreases left, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make the wise decision to go to sleep. I'm going to put the hat down. I'm going to finish it in the morning because I knew I needed to record this video. And I'm so glad I did because, like I said, little man was up most of the night and I needed that extra little bit of sleep instead of knitting. I have enough left of both of these skeins of yarn, this one and the blue one, to make another whole hat. But what I really want to do is take this pattern and turn it into a cowl that matches. But I don't have enough. This is not enough because this hat took 50 grams. And so there's about 50 grams left on the ball. Well, this one has slightly left because I had a big knot of yarn barf come out and I did not feel like fighting it. So I just cut this part out and just went about my business. So I have to fight that to make it into a skein. But I have about 49, 50, maybe 51 grams of yarn left. And it's enough to make another hat, but it's not enough to make a cowl because the cowls obviously are bigger. So I need to find a bigger ball of yarn so that I can make a matching hat and cowl set. And the reason I like this so much is because you guys know this, I do not work in solid colors. I do not work in all one color. I like variegated, I like self-striping yarns because I get so bored looking at one color. But because it's a hat, it's a small pattern, And because of this cool design and because I'm constantly thinking about what I'm doing, this was not at all a boring project to me. And it just, I really liked working with the plain colored yarns. So now I need to go onto the rainbow shelf and see what I have a bigger ball of, or maybe 2 balls of a solid color, so that I can make the matching set, because that's what I really want to do. But I'm going to also make those out of acrylic because the wool is a little bit itchy. It didn't bother me at all to knit up the Stitch Please yarn. It is, like I said, it's superwash wool. It's 100% superwash wool. It didn't bother me working with it, but on my face, around my neck and around my forehead, it's itchy. So I'm not going to keep these hats. I'm going to gift them or donate them or something. But the only thing is my hands after the fact, I tend to get, you guys know that I have issues with my hands. I get dry, peely, crusty Velcro skin. But on top of that, when I work with certain chemicals or if I work with certain substances like wool, I get these really deep blisters that don't hurt, but they itch. Like in my bones it itches until they get popped, and then when they pop they hurt. And that is what has happened. So I'm going to be done with the wool for a little bit because I can handle it, and all it takes is a little bit of oatmeal and, you know, some medicine, and I'm good to go. Like, my hands are fine. But like, I think it was well worth it to work with this. And I actually asked Mr. Cinnamon yesterday if he could please buy me some of the Z-Twist merino wool from Furls, because I really like that for Christmas. So hopefully. Can I help you? I don't want sprinkled cheese. No, thank you. Mr. Cinnamon's cooking breakfast. He's going, sprinkled cheese? Sprinkled cheese? I don't want sprinkled cheese, thank you. I wish you could have seen him because it's funny. He's going as I'm talking about what I want him to buy me for Christmas. I think I'm pretty sure I will get some of that. But that what is it? It's not Wander, it's Whims Merino from Furls. That yarn is so nice. And so I think that would make some of these beautiful hats. So I asked him, I was like, I would really like some of that yarn, please. And put it on my Christmas list. Yeah, so I guess that's it for today. Thank you for joining me. I'm really proud of my health. I'm proud of my health. My health. I'm proud. I was trying to say I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of my hat at the same time. It came out health. You guys saw the baby dress that I knit. By the way, I showed it to baby Paprika. My sister loves it. She is so excited about it. She's really excited about the bonnet too. And I can't wait to just see her, hug her, rub her belly, and just give her the things I'm working on, you know. But she was really excited about that. But between making the baby dress and then learning a new stitch, I'm so proud of myself. I really am. I have these irrational fears that I'm going to screw up and that I'm going to fail. And I did this with crochet too. I remember when I first started crocheting, I told you Lilo N Stitches is a big part of the reason I crochet at all. She taught me so much with her videos. And I commented on one of her videos one time because I was making the crocheted amigurumi horse pattern that she has. And the horse is broken up in like 4 different videos, if I recall correctly. And I told her, I said, I made a horse and I was so afraid. And she's like, why were you afraid to make the horse? At first of all, I was excited because she responded back to me. And I was like, it just looks so scary and so complicated. And I did the same thing with crochet. Like, learning something new is scary to me. I'm so afraid I'm going to mess it up or screw it up or I'm going to fail. I have a huge fear of failure. And failure is absolutely in my own mind. I've been trying for a long time to change that from fear of failure to maybe fear of success. I don't know. But I'm trying to change it into I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. And even if I mess up, and this is what I try to teach you guys too, is like, even if you mess up, like, it's okay because you learn from it. So it's a hard lesson to stick by though, even for me. And so I'm really into learning. I love learning new things. And so that's why it's such a big deal to me, these hats and the baby dress, because I'm learning and I'm so proud of myself. And The hat is beautiful. I think it's so pretty. I think it's so pretty. Even with the mistakes that I made, it's just so pretty. So, yeah. Herringbone hat from Red Heart. I will link it below. Check it out if you are courageous. If you think you can, if you want to knit it, if you know, I would suggest trying, you know, an easier hat pattern first. And once you get the hang of an easier hat pattern, this was not a problem at all. The DPNs were only for like maybe 6 rows. And you could always use the small, little tiny mini needles from Chaigu. So yeah, all right, that is it. I'm gonna go enjoy my breakfast with my family. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.